Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for checking out my video. My name is Emily, or La Movie Mija. I'm a part-time filmmaker, full-time movie lover, and today I'm giving you my review of the horror comedy Hell of a Summer. But before we get into it today, I do want to share a little bit of behind the scenes of how I got to watch the film. Thank you so much to Neon, who invited me to an advanced screening here in Los Angeles. You know, that doesn't happen to me very often, but when it does, I feel extra special and appreciated, and it reminds me that I should keep doing what I'm doing. So the screening itself was at an actual campground. Like, we drove up a mountain, we were surrounded by trees. Like, there was an actual camp that they outfitted to look like the Camp Pineway that the film is set in. The theming was impeccable. I'm talking everybody came dressed in their best camp attire. We also had like s'mores themed snacks. We also had giant Jenga, guitar by the fire. They did an incredible job setting up the camp feeling. Then when it was time to watch the film itself, we walked into an actual cabin, and it was like set up with folding chairs and a projector and little goodies on our seats. I got this Camp Pineway mug, and our ticket to get inside was this Pineway for Life friendship bracelet. And the cherry on top of the whole experience is we got to watch the movie with the cast and the directors, Billy Bryk and Finn Wolfhard. It was so cool to get to hear them talk a little bit about the behind the scenes, the inspiration for the film, and I'll sprinkle some tidbits of what they had to say throughout my review. Thank you again to Neon for inviting me, and thank you to all the other content creators I got to mingle with. Like, some people I was meeting for the very first time. I'd only ever seen them on my phone, so it was really cool to actually see them in the flesh. Some people I saw I was too nervous to talk to, but hopefully I get invited to more things and will work up the courage to say hi. Fun times aside, I assure you that my review will be as true as ever, so let's get into it. Camp counselor Jason Hochberg thinks his biggest problem is feeling out of touch with his teenage coworkers. What he doesn't know is that a mysterious mass killer is lurking on the campgrounds, brutally picking off victims one by one. As I mentioned before, the film is co-written and co-directed by Billy Bryk and Finn Wolfhard, and it stars Fred Hechinger, Abby Quinn, Matthew Finlan, Krista Nazaire, Danielle Gravelle, Woon-A-Tai, Pardis, Saremi, and Billy Bryk and Finn Wolfhard themselves. As a film, I feel like this movie is being mismarketed to be more slashery than it is. It's definitely more teenage comedy, so let's talk about that aspect of it first. This film chooses the perfect setting to explore a coming of age, like on the precipice of adulthood type of story, and you have a fantastic character in Jason. A little homage to Friday the 13th, maybe? Definitely. Jason is played by Fred Hechinger, and when I tell you, he carries this film. He is the bright spot in this movie. I really found him so endearing and charming, and he plays this like lovable, goofy kind of like stunted adult who, you know, has some sort of arrested development, doesn't know yet what he wants to do with his life, so he keeps returning back to this camp that he attended as a child. He gets some flack from his mom about it. He gets some flack from his peers, his other campers, who think that he's too eager, think that he's too like ready to take on a leadership role when all of the rest of them just want to party. And I feel like a character like Fred makes the best kind of protagonist in a teenage comedy coming of age film. And I found it interesting to see him also balance being the lead in a slasher. As for the rest of the ensemble cast in this movie, they play into some certain like teenage comedy stereotypes. I'm talking jock, hot girl, nerd, outsider, vegetarian. They all play into some sort of archetype, but they were still very funny. Like, the comedic timing across the board was really there, and I enjoyed the chemistry that they had. And their goofiness against the earnestness of Fred is a great balance, and it helps set up the redemption arc that Fred is trying to show that he is. I called him Fred, I meant Jason. The redemption arc that Jason is trying to prove to everybody else that he is the #1 camp counselor, or #1 camper. Oh hey, I just want to say thank you so much for checking out my video and taking a chance on a small creator like myself. It means the world to me. I post one new movie review every single week, and sometimes I even take you to the movies with me. So if you want to see more from me, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and you can follow me at Movie Mija on all the things. All right, back to the video. But let's talk about the film as a slasher. As a slasher, I thought this movie was a little disappointing. What I expect from a slasher is a good mystery mystery, really great kills, really great ambiance, a good score, and a fair amount of frightening moments. And what's upsetting is that the first two opening kills that we get are pretty gruesome and inventive and definitely were shocking. However, the rest of the kills that we get, they're definitely brutal, but as the kill count increases, ironically, the scare factor for the slasher lessens. And I don't think that gore needs to be in your face and obvious for it to be effective. There are many ways to achieve like a chilling moment without showing too much. However, what we did get to see in this movie were a lot of like cutaways to other things that didn't communicate the violence, didn't communicate the horror of the situation. And I feel like as a slasher, I didn't really find it all that compelling as the movie went on. I wasn't as invested in the mystery. Speaking of mystery, the reveal happens about 3/4 of the way into the film, and I feel like it diffuses a lot of the tension, the little tension that we were hanging on to by that point. So with that deflated tension and the lack of chills and thrills as the movie went on, I found myself less interested in it as a slasher and was more interested in Jason getting his redemption, which just goes to show you how wonderful Fred Hechinger really is in this movie. And that thought leads me into my conversation I want to have as a film producer. That's me putting on my film producer hat. I think that the moment that Fred Hechinger was cast, the moment that they had like a table read of sorts, they should have pivoted this movie to focus even more on his redemption arc, to focus even more on his coming of age story. Because I feel like the two genres are kind of intersecting, and one is appreciating, which is the slasher, like it's supposed to be growing in momentum, while we start with the coming of age and it's slowly starting to get forgotten as the movie carries on. As a producer, I would have encouraged them to rework the story a bit to add more dimension to that redemption arc for Jason, and to really, give us the emotional payoff of this really gruesome journey he had throughout this night. But the things I would celebrate about this movie from a production point of view is that it's a single location horror movie, meaning that we are only set in one place the entire time. So from a filmmaking perspective, that simplifies a lot of things. That simplifies your budget, that simplifies your, moving people around. They probably had accommodations on site where they could just bunk up in the cabins and sleep on set. Like that's wonderful when you can provide housing for your cast and crew. Reduces the travel time that people have to and fro, and that's really important on these very long days. And consider the fact that this is the night before the campers arrive. Yes, it could have been chaotic if these killings happened when the campers were there, but thinking about it from a production point of view, you have less players, less cast, more control over your script, and it's genius to set it the night before the campers arrive because you don't have all these extras that you have to wrangle, you don't have all these children that you have to have on set. It being the night before means that there are less people on set, there's less characters. From a writer's point of view, you are able to have more complete arcs for fewer characters rather than introducing a whole onslaught of other people and campers on site. Something that was challenging in the making of this film that Finn Wolfhard and Billy Bryk admitted to was that they cast Billy Bryk as like one of the dumber characters. So he had to play a dumb character, but then when they called cut and he had to switch back to being a director, he has to be his articulate, like knowledgeable self, which is really challenging to switch back and forth. And the advice he got from another director was that he should have cast himself as one of the nerdier, smarter people, so he doesn't have to stop being that smart, articulate person to play his character on screen and just maintain some neuroses. So in summary, from a production point of view, I think this movie made a lot of great moves, including in confining everything to a single location, having a limited number of cast, writing a film that leans on the vernacular of their peers, so it's something that they know. And they cast the hell out of Jason with Fred Hechinger. He is remarkable in this film. So who would I recommend watch this movie, and where would I recommend you watch it? I don't think you necessarily have to watch this one in theaters. I think it would actually do better to watch it on a smaller screen at home. If you can host your friends for a screening, it would be a lot of fun. Heck, you can even take a projector, go outside into your backyard if you can swing it, and let your own backyard and wilderness blend into the scary woods that surround Camp Pineway. A s'mores espresso martini sounds delicious, wouldn't you say? Dealer's choice. There you have it. That is my review of Hell of a Summer. Even though I don't feel like it fully realized its potential as a slasher or as a coming of age film, I do think it's one hell of a feature debut from Billy Bryk and Finn Wolfhard. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do next. Let me know if you check out Hell of a Summer, and if you have any camp themed snacks you'd like to share the recipe for in the comments below. go right ahead. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'll see you next time. Bye.